This is from Rachel in the UK. I think the lowest point came when I realized I had destroyed everything I once thought was secure. I sat alone in my flat, terrified of what would happen, ashamed of the choices I'd made, and unable to admit the truth to anyone. Before gambling, my life was steady and predictable. I worked as an accountant, lived in a modest flat, and had people who trusted me. On the surface, everything looked normal. But deep down, I felt restless, like I was missing something. That quiet dissatisfaction pushed me toward choices I'd soon regret. I first gambled casually, and it seemed harmless. Scratch tickets at the shop, a few pounds on a slot machine with friends, or small bets at work. I told myself it was nothing serious, just fun. But those little habits planted a seed, and I didn't realize they were slowly pulling me in. One night, I had a small win. It wasn't life-changing, but the rush of excitement stayed with me. For a moment, I felt lucky, almost special. That feeling didn't fade, and I convinced myself it could happen again. I started looking for ways to chase that same rush, and it became dangerous. Soon, gambling wasn't just something I did occasionally. It became part of my routine, checking betting apps at night, playing longer at casinos, and hiding how much time I spent on it. I told myself it was harmless entertainment, but I was lying. I was already sliding into something I couldn't control. When a close friend admitted she was in financial trouble, I saw gambling as a solution. I told myself I could help her by winning money quickly. It seemed like a noble reason to take a risk. But in reality, it was just another excuse to gamble more than ever before. Instead of helping my friend, I only hurt myself. The money I gambled disappeared faster than I could process. I tried to recover my losses, telling myself, one more bet and I'll make it right. But the more I tried, the deeper the hole became, and my excuses grew weaker every time. Losses piled up until they were impossible to ignore. I increased my bets, convinced that a bigger win would solve everything. But the truth was, I was only making things worse. My health suffered, my sleep disappeared, and I carried a constant, gnawing anxiety that followed me through every day. I started hiding what I was doing. When family asked about my money, I made up excuses. I deleted notifications from my bank, stayed up late on gambling apps, and pretended I was fine. Lying became second nature. I thought I was protecting myself, but really, I was cutting myself off from help. When my savings ran out, I crossed a line I never imagined I would. I started taking money from my employer. At first, I told myself it was temporary, that I would pay it back quickly, but deep down, I knew the truth. I was stealing, and once I started, I couldn't stop. The stealing started small. Just small amounts that I thought no one would notice. I told myself it was temporary, just a way to buy time until my next win. But as the debts grew, the amounts increased. Every transfer left me sick with guilt, but I kept doing it anyway. I stopped spending time with friends and family because I didn't want questions. My health slipped too. I wasn't eating properly, and I barely slept. All I thought about was gambling and money. The isolation made it worse, because the less people saw me, the easier it was to keep lying. There was one night when I finally hit a big win. For a few hours, I felt relief. I thought maybe I had a chance to undo everything. But just as quickly, the money was gone. I kept gambling until I lost it all back, and the shame was unbearable. The day my employer confronted me, I felt my entire world collapse. I had been dreading it, but also knew it was inevitable. Sitting across from them, hearing the numbers out loud, I wanted to disappear. All I could think was that I had destroyed my career and my reputation forever. Did you know casinos and online betting sites are deliberately designed to keep people hooked? No clocks, flashing lights, endless near misses, and even push notifications on apps all work together to make people play longer and risk more than they ever planned. Around 2 million people just in the US alone struggle with severe gambling problems, and yearly losses are estimated in the billions. Globally, it adds up to hundreds of billions. Here's a tip. Gamble with a budget that you can enjoy your time, and build discipline to stop yourself. Don't let casino ruin your life. Anyway, after being caught, I lost my job. My home was at risk, and the shame spread into every part of my life. Friends stopped talking to me, and my family didn't know what to say. I felt like there was nowhere left to go and no one left to turn to. The weight of what I had done crushed me. The debt, the lies, the stealing, it all built up until I couldn't imagine a way out. I thought about ending it, not because I wanted to die, but because I couldn't see any way to keep living with that guilt. What saved me was someone noticing how bad things had become. They didn't yell or judge, they just told me I needed help and pointed me toward therapy and a recovery program. That step probably kept me alive. I didn't believe I deserved help, but I went anyway. Group therapy was the hardest thing I've ever done. Saying out loud what I had done, listening to others share their own stories, and realizing I wasn't alone, it broke something in me. But it also started to rebuild something. I wasn't fixed, but for the first time, I wasn't hiding. Recovery didn't fix everything overnight. I still faced legal fallout and financial claims from my former employer. There were meetings with solicitors, and nights I couldn't sleep because I was trying to count every pound I'd taken. Admitting that truth in court or in meetings felt like ripping off a bandage I'd kept on for years. Trust didn't come back quickly. Family members listened, then stepped back. Friends who used to call stopped answering. I tried to apologize, to explain, to show I was getting help, but most of the bridges I burned didn't rebuild. That loss, of people who once mattered, felt heavier than any debt on paper. Financial recovery was slow and humiliating. I had to sell things, take low-paid work, and accept that the lifestyle I once had was gone. Every time a bill arrived, I flinched. Making a budget felt like a punishment at first, but it slowly became a map. Small steps that proved I could be responsible again, even if it took years. I still have bad days. Triggers pop up, a notification, a friend talking about a sure thing, or the memory of a slot machine sound. On those days, I go to a meeting, call my sponsor, or use blocking apps on my phone. Those actions don't erase the past, but they keep me from repeating it. Sometimes I feel guilty taking up space and asking for compassion. I remember the faces of people I let down and the concrete consequences my actions caused. I say sorry a lot now, to former colleagues, to friends, to myself. Saying sorry is not enough, but it's where accountability begins. I try every day to be better. I learned a lot about how gambling preyed on me and how easy it is to rationalize bad choices. I also learned that treatment and community matter. Therapy, support groups, and a few steadfast people helped me hold on. If I hadn't been pushed toward help, I don't know where I'd be now. Recovery feels like a second chance I don't take for granted. I still think about restitution and whether what I do now will ever be enough. Paying back money is just one side. The other is making amends to people's lives. I'm trying to do that in practical ways. Clear communication, steady work, and small acts that show I'm changing. Some days it's painfully slow, but it's honest work. If you're watching this and worrying you're alone, you're not. People get caught in this in ways that seem impossible to outsiders. Addiction hides in plain sight, and shame silences cries for help. If anything in my story sounds familiar, please talk to someone. Reach out to a helpline, or see a medical professional. You don't have to carry it alone. I don't pretend I'm cured or that everything is okay. I still have to remind myself not to be too hard on progress or too lenient on relapse. Recovery is messy. Some days I do well, other days I stumble. The goal now isn't perfection, it's honesty, slow repair, and not letting the same pattern win again. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who lost control like this, but here I am, rebuilding one step at a time. If you've been through something similar, your perspective could help someone else. Share your words in the comments, and if you'd like more stories like this, please subscribe.